Good morning, dear students, and welcome to Vistaslearning. My name is Denzil, your science tutor for class 11. So greetings from Vistas. Now, since this is our first session, let me give you a quick intro about the chapters that I'll be teaching you and also what your syllabus, your board exams is all about. So first of all, let's get started with the subject that I'm going to teach you. Science is a subject. Now for your class 11, now prior to this, which was in your high school as well as the middle school, you had one book that contained the subject science. It was a combination of all physics, chemistry, biology, isn't it? So in this case, we have subjects that are segregated into its particular topics. So the one stream of subject that I've been teaching you is a beautiful physics that defines the nature of our reality. The very own existence as to how objects move around us and how objects remain at stationary. Now, those are the things which we will be discussing. So let's get started with our board exams. Now, the board exams that you will be appearing to are what are called as a class 11 and class 12 board exams. So these are of CBSE as well as your Karnataka PU board exams. So how exactly does a CBSE board exam operate? So what are the things that they're trying to obtain from you? What do they want from you? Now, thing is, for the sake of your board exam, the first thing you need to know is to have a remembering skill. So in your question paper, you will have set of questions that are there for recollecting a certain concept. So it is all about remembering skills. So what type of remembering skills? Such as remembering things such as facts, terms, basic concepts, and answers. Now currently this is a live session. At any point, if you have difficulty in understanding or if you have a doubt regarding the CBSE as well as the Karnataka PU board exams or Karnataka, the basic boards, so you can put them in the comments. You can drop those questions in the comments below and I shall answer to it. All right? Right. So let us have a look at an example. What exactly does a remembering facts are all about? Here's a question. What is the SI unit of pressure? Now, these things you have learned in your high school as well, your primary classes as well as the high school as the SI unit of pressure. So what you must do here in order to answer such question, you recollect the things that you had learned. So which means you need to remember. So this requires a remembering skill. Right. So answer to this question, SI unit of pressure is, that's right, you guessed it right, which is Pascal. It could also be defined as Newton per meter square because pressure is defined as force per unit area, which could also be defined as Newton per meter square. So this type of question is what relies on remembering the facts. The next segment is what is called the understanding. So when you read a question, you don't understand the question at the first shot. So what you must do is go through the question once again, read the question once again, so that you understand what they're trying to tell you or what they're trying to ask. So understanding of facts and ideas by organizing, comparing, translating, interpreting, giving description and stating main ideas. So let's have a look at an example where an understanding question is asked. How does a pressure vary with area of an object? Now that we know how to define pressure, which is force per unit area, where P is equals to, right? So you write where, there you go, where P is equals to force per unit area. Now, how does this pressure vary with area of an object? What happens to area when what happens to pressure when area increases? Certainly, we see that the area is in the denominator. As one quantity which is in the denominator increases, the resultant quantity decreases. So here we have a scenario, a parameter where it involves that they are inversely proportional, where pressure is inversely proportional to area. The reason why we say inversely, because when one quantity increases, the other quantity decreases, and the vice versa. So how does a pressure vary with area? It varies inversely proportional. So this is a example of an understanding question. Next, the next segment is applying, which means solving problems. In 11th and 12th, you have major numerical problems, questions that are asked for 5 marks. So which means you need to know how to apply the formulas. So let's have a look at an example. An example here is an object of area 2 meters square applies a thrust of 1000 newtons on the ground. Find the pressure acting on the ground. So what are the things we need to do here? First, you need to recollect, which is remembering that the pressure, given a moment, pressure P is equals to force by area. This is how you find pressure, by recollecting the formula. Next, what you do is apply. So what are we going to apply? The things that are given to us. 1000 Newton is the force, area is 2 meters square. See, a very simple idea as to how to solve and obtain a given result. So which is equals to 500. And guess what is the SI unit of pressure? We just dealt with it, which is Pascal. So this is a segment which is called an apply. So these segments that we're actually discussing is how your question papers are set in your first PU, second PU, or 11th and 12th standard. The next one is called analyzing and evaluating. So let's have a look at analyzing, evaluating. It's all about examining and breaking the information in parts by identifying the motives and causes. So let's look at by an example. Why is it easy to cut a vegetable with a sharp knife? Now, to answer this question, why it is easy to cut a vegetable with a sharp knife, you need to understand the concept of a pressure. Well, first we recollect that pressure is equals to force by unit area, where P equals to F by A. So you see how much of skills that goes into this in order to answer such questions. Force per unit area. Now next thing what you need to do is apply, where you say when area increases, then the force, then the pressure decreases, where they are inversely proportional, pressure and area. Now using those set of information, we have to answer the following question. Why is it easy to cut vegetable with a sharpened knife? Now if you observe, a sharpened knife has a less surface area. Less surface area means more pressure. Less surface area, more pressure. Therefore, it is easy to cut vegetable with a sharpened knife. And that is where you get at analyzing and evaluating segment. And for the last one, which is creating segment. Now, in a creating segment, you compile all the information together. So what are the information that we had learned? Well, let's have a look at it one more time. Remembering, understanding, applying, analyzing, and evaluating. So these set of information has to be put into a creative question. So let's have a look at a creative question. So here's a question, though I have not phrased it, but I'll ask you anyways. For a given sheet of paper, why is it easy to use a bulletin pin rather than any other object? You use a bulletin pin to hang papers. Why? Well, it's the same concept that we discussed earlier as to why is it easy to cut vegetable with a sharpened knife. In case of a pin, you have less surface area at the tip. For a pin, you observe, yes, for a pin, you observe that it has very less surface area. Area is very small. If area is small, what happens to the pressure? Increases, where P is equals to force per unit area. As area is less, pressure is more. Therefore, you can hang paper using a paper clip. Then you may say, sir, there are other objects such as a magnet. I can take a magnet and hang it when you have a metallic surface behind. So you can hang it with a magnet. Certainly. But these are the things that we're going to discuss. How a magnet actually attracts other magnetic materials. So stay tuned, stay tuned. We will be discussing those in Vista's e-learning. So grading scales. Now, for the sake of your examination, what are the various grading scales? Now, the marks range are from 91 to 100, 81 to 90, 71 to 80, and various other where you have 32 and below. For the various grade, you have grade that are assigned from A1, A2, B1, B2, C1, C2, D, and E, unfortunately, is failed. Okay. So, I hope the viewers here are all hoping and aiming for this A1 and A2 grades. Yes. If not, I believe that you can really achieve A1 and A2. So try harder, work harder, and you will definitely reach that grade, which is A1 and A2. Now, for a theory marks, in case of your 11th and 12th standard, how much of theory marks for each individual chapter and how many periods how many sessions that we'll be conducting. For physical world and units and measurement, we have total of 10 sessions, kinematics, laws of motion, and the respective sessions. Don't worry about the sessions. All you have to do is attend Vista's e-learning class, enjoy the class, have fun. At the same time, you will be learning a lot of things here. So share this with your friends and family so they can also benefit from Vista's e-learning education platform. All right, so total marks is also given. So let me do one thing. I'll put this as a PDF format where you can view the theory marks. So the total marks for your theory exams is 70 marks. So out of 100 marks, 70 marks will be your theory exam. Now for 30 marks will be your practical exams. So these 3 hours for your practical exam, and how a practical exam is divided into a lot of other segments, categories. For experiment, you have total of 16 marks. You have record writing, projects, and also viva voice. Not to worry about that, but remember, theory is for 70, practical is for 30 marks. Together, it is for 100 marks of board examination. All right. So these are the preferred prescribed textbook from your NCERT syllabus or for the board exam. You have physics part 1 and part 2, which you can find them, which are published by the NCERT. Laboratory manuals. So since you're all writing your practical examinations, which means you need to carry a set of manual for the experiments. So these lab manuals also can be obtained with NCERT publishers. Then you have list of other books, which I will also let you know as we go about with a session. Okay. So contents of physics part 1 for your 11th standard. Now currently I'm teaching the 11th PU on the 11th CBSE. Now you have the 11th PU, 11th CBSE, which is divided into 2 parts. One part which is by NCERT, and the other part which is part 2 by NCERT. All right. So let's have a look at the chapters which we'll be discussing in part 1. So these are the various chapters. With chapter 1, you have physical world. Chapter 2, units and measurement, motion in a straight line, motion in a plane. These are the 4 set of chapters. We will be starting with the next session with chapter 1, which is physical world, a very quite fascinating one. So stay tuned. Then you have chapter 5, which is laws of motion, work energy power. So these chapters look familiar to you because you have learned them in your high school as well. So what will we be doing here? We'll be dealing in a little bit of depth. So the concepts a little bit may vary. Though what you have learned, the definition of force is a push or pull action, here it may change because you're learning something that is new. A push and pull action is more like the letters that you learn in the alphabets, like A, B, C, D, E. But now what you're trying to do is construct a word, not the sentence yet. You're trying to just construct a word using those A, B, C, D, E. Okay, so just learning in depth. So, and then you have chapter 8, gravitation. Now moving on to the part 2 of the textbook, mechanical properties of waves. So these are the chapters that we will be discussing. So in next class, we start with the new chapter, which is physical world. So